We start our lives like this, and this is what we hear inside our mother's womb, coming from our very first grandmother's heartbeat. I'm looking for my time code. It's not there yet. So I have extra time now. And it's the last thing that we hear as we pass on to the next part of our journey. Life is a circle. It's a celebration. In this part on the earth, our heart beats. We remember our grandmother, our great-great-great-grandmother, and we remember her teachings and the teachings that have come from generations, in our case, 14,000 years. Living well and aging well, as I have come to know it, those teachings have come from the elders. In our community, we call them elders. We call them seniors. We call them the elderly. We call them our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our uncles, and our aunties. And 14,500 years ago, up until about maybe 500 or so, we lived in a society where everybody is equal. They don't change their status as they get older and get set aside, or because they're young. They are all equal. Every man, woman, child, every animal, bird, fish, in my teachings, are all equal. We need each other to live, and we need each other to die. And some animals die for us so that we can live. With our teachings, one of the greatest teachings that comes from our sacred teachings, some of the 7 sacred teachings are based on humility, courage, respect, love, kindness, sharing. One of the greatest parts of our society is sharing in everything. And when we had the very tight extended families made of hundreds of cousins, hundreds of aunties and uncles in an extended family, we had everything we needed to take care of the youngest child and the oldest person in our community. And we've lost that ability to, as an extended family, to take care of our elders, to take care of our seniors. What is an elder? An elder, in my eyes, is different from an old person. An elder can be a young person who has become very wise in their times, and so we consider them someone who knows a great deal or has been given a great amount of knowledge in their young life, and as they become an elder, they have even more knowledge. But an elder in other societies is an old person. A senior is somebody who is in their, aged, they're up there in age, and just like non-native people, they are eligible for certain things, for old age pension and CPP. Has anyone ever considered how much that is? Old age pension and CPP? It's minimal. And in my society, in the Mi'kmaq world, because of the impact of colonization, because of racism, especially in this part of the country, our men and women were not given the kinds of jobs where they could be enjoying their retirement with a retirement savings plan or some kind of retirement money from an institution or a corporation they worked for. The elders and the seniors of my society were woodworkers and housekeepers. Very few were lucky to have a job where, like with the CN Rail, they might have received a pension. But that's the few in our communities across this land. So when we're talking CPP and old age pension, oftentimes that's all they get. That's all they have. Whether they're living on or off reserve, that's often what they have. Can you imagine? Many of you probably couldn't, and I know some of you do imagine what it's like trying to live with that kind of restriction. And in our communities, because of the unemployment is so high, it's not 40, 50, 60, 70, it's often 80 to 85%. Our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our great-grandparents who should be enjoying just living with being amongst their family are supporting those children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. So that little bit of pension, that little old age pension in CPP does not stretch for, 25, 45, 55 grandchildren. Our elders brag they're rich when they have lots of children and lots of grandchildren. It makes them rich. Children and elders are sacred in our lives. They've always been sacred. But with the stress of the society today, where we've had to conform and live under a rule that is against our way of life, it's against our values, against our ethics, where old people, elders, seniors, are as important as the young newborn baby. And our elders are considered indigenous knowledge holders. And without their knowledge, we would not be here today. And if we were to believe more in their knowledge and treat them with the respect that they deserve for having survived and lived all these years, then perhaps they would have a better place in our society, and perhaps our young would know much more about how to live into the future. So the heartbeat, like Helen Martin once told me, the basis when the Meech Lake Accord and the Constitution was coming to Canada, I said, I'm going to Ottawa and they're going to be talking about this. What should I say? She said, government in the Mi'kmaq community is based on family. We govern like family, from the baby to the eldest, and we share everything. And I believe that if we could create a world like we want to be when we are the elders and seniors right now, for those who are aging and for us who are going there, we would all be much happier and the world would be much more balanced, where we would respect, honor, and find humility in honoring our age, our aging, and for even those, especially those who cannot speak, those who have, kind of lost their ability to remember, but inside they remember, and I'm sure they know what we're doing with them, and I think they should stay home, and I think the government's running out of room everywhere, especially with our generation coming up, and we should do everything in our ways to bring them home and keep them home, no matter what it costs. It couldn't cost any more than what we're paying right now for elders and seniors to be on waiting lists in hospitals for overcrowded homes. So let's bring them home and remember this. Walaliok.